one over, I've come close.
No. That's gonna be,
You didn't have to put bubble wrap on you, Chris.
yeah.
It's 7 o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, are there any additions or corrections to the consent calendar?
Move.
Second.
Roll call roll.
Commissioners Garvers.
Aye.
York. Aye. Carlson.
Aye.
Mayor Lundstrom.
Aye. Okay, are there any visitors to be heard tonight? Can you come forward? Thank you.
So, I'm Tammy Benbacher from the Canton Housing Commission, and I have with me tonight Victoria Anderson. And at the next meeting, we will be presenting her as a resident board member, as we are required by HUD to have a resident board member on our board. And we lost Penny McClung, and so Vicki has volunteered to step up to that position.
Thanks for stepping up.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
You missed one on consent calendar.
Pardon?
Missed the tattoo thing on the consent calendar.
No, that's under,
It's all part of it, isn't it?
it's,
Because it's on consent calendar.
Yeah. We don't have to go through it anymore.
They got approved with the consent calendar.
Okay, good.
okay, oh, yes.
Good evening, Mayor and Commission, Chad Skiles, 820 North Dakota Street. I just wanted to bring to your attention that the kind of what's been going on or what's going to start going on with Lincoln County and the current old part of the courthouse. The Lincoln County Commission in the last couple of weeks made the decision to put together a committee to study the potential and the different options for the old courthouse once the new Justice Center is completed. And I was named to that committee, and we have our first meeting tomorrow night. We're going to be meeting Tuesday nights through the month of June. Tomorrow night's just an organizational meeting along with a tour of the old courthouse, but next week, June 10th, is going to be an opportunity for the public to come in. All these meetings are going to be streamed live and recorded, so you can watch them anytime. But the June 10th meeting is going to be the one for public input to come and give your 2 cents worth on the future of the old courthouse. I'm here to tell you that one of the options already, and we haven't even met yet, one of the options is to tear down the old courthouse. And that is one of the reasons why I'm on this committee, because I don't want to see that happen. There's too much history in that building with not only Lincoln County, but the city of Canton. But just know, and I want the citizens of Canton to know that that's a very real possibility. And so any and all input from the citizens of Canton will be appreciated. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me anytime.
When is that June 10th meeting?
June 10th, 6:30 at the, all of the meetings will be at the courthouse, at the commission chambers, and they are all open to the public, obviously, but the input one will be on June 10th, and all the meetings are starting at 6:30 in the commission chambers.
Do you know what else is being considered, I guess?
As far as options,
Yeah.
that's what this committee has been tasked with in our meetings, is to look at potential uses, the future of it, and so forth. So that's going to be our main function as this committee moves forward through our meetings through the month of June. So
Do you have reports from contractors or whatever about how the heating is or anything, the building structure?
nothing yet.
Oh, nothing.
Yeah, all of that stuff, I am assuming that those are all going to be things that will come out of these meetings with this committee. Because I am going to, as being just one voice on the committee, I'm going to insist that we investigate all options, and not to put the cart before the horse. Like I have a feeling that at least a couple of county commissioners may have already written it off. And that bothers me quite a bit, so I'll be a loud voice for the city of Canton in those meetings, I guarantee you that, so, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next week, Harold Commissioner,
He was not gonna be able to make it.
right. I was just gonna say that, Harold was gonna give his yearly report, and he's had a conflict tonight, so he will not be here at this time. And so we're gonna move on to old business. The personnel manual policy for the holidays was tabled. So, holidays have been updated to include Juneteenth, which was proclaimed a federal holiday in 2020, and the other holidays proclaimed non-working holidays by the President of the United States and the Governor of South Dakota. So, you want to discuss this more, since we tabled it?
We had just, what staff had done was made two separate looking proposals and tried to make it a little bit more clear what the changes were to the policy.
Things not moving.
We just removed that it will be at the discretion of the city commission.
So there's change one and then second one is change two where it leaves the ability of the city commission.
I brought up the wrong thing, but it's moving now.
So we added Juneteenth and then just eliminated that portion of that sentence.
That's one of the options, and the other one, no, it's just action, take away the discretion.
Okay. So what say you?
I'd make a motion to approve change two.
We have a motion to change it to a second option.
That is just the June 19th.
Pardon?
That's just the Juneteenth version.
Yes.
I have not seen the options.
This is one option, this is one.
Doesn't change two, make it so it will be at the discretion of the city commission?
Correct.
Yes.
That leaves
That
the
leaves the discretion.
proclaimed,
This is one.
proclaimed holidays by the governor or
Part,
the president as
whereas this one's-
discretion of this board.
Up to the board.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it does add Juneteenth as a federal, as a
Motion to
Yeah.
remove this change. Leaving the administrative holidays as it is today,
Adding this one.
but adding Juneteenth, yeah.
I will second it, leaving it up to the city of commission
We have a
for the
motion.
second option.
Are we, if we're gonna recognize it, I guess my question is what are we going to do as a city of Canton on that day? To help honor or observe it or whatever you want, word you want to use. Just besides having another day off, what are we gonna do to observe it?
Sure.
And the other cities do.
Well, probably most of them make a social media post and leave it at that.
That's what I was thinking also. Maybe put up flags again.
I don't know what else something a little bit more meaningful to do, but I'll certainly look look in to see what other communities anywhere in the country are doing to more formally observe it.
I think the state just does a social media post. Governor puts out a little spiel on her webpage, or his now, I guess.
The motion is second. Is there any other questions? No, if not, I'll call roll.
Commissioners York.
Aye.
Carlson.
Aye.
Commissioner Garbers.
No.
Mayor Lindstrom.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next, old business is the copy of Diligent Community. We tabled this item from May 19th meeting. It is the company that is controlling board docs now. It did migration process and is transitioning to Diligent Community. The annual subscription fee for the Diligent Community platform is $5,000 annually, and it is attached in your.
Alicia did reach out and look at a few of the other programs that are out there. They, like a lot of these platforms, they won't even give you a quote without sitting through a demo. We did not sit through any demos to get the quote.
It's quite time consuming.
It is, you sat through all the pool.
I did.
Didn't
get anything out of them.
So who updates our webpage and adds things to it there?
Alicia, Tiffany,
So does it charge, do we get charged by the person who sponsors our platform if we were to create a space on our webpage just to do the same thing?
no, we would not if we did like a hyperlink agenda version. Well, I guess I take that. I'm pretty sure that, because we're doing our own updates, I'm sure there's some type of limit on the amount of data that you're allowed to store out there, but something tells me we wouldn't bump into any of those limits, like triggering, having to pay more for our website because we're loading more up there.
The only thing nice about the Diligent, or at least from what I've observed in the course of the years that we've used it, is that all of our history is out there. You can go back and look at every agenda since we started with Diligent. And I don't know if that is something that is plausible on a website, but I'm not thrilled.
It just lives as the one-page version of the agenda. But what we had found up north was that we would end up inadvertently moving some of the files around in the document library on the website that were the links to the agenda. So sometimes those hyperlinks weren't staying active.
Does the program make it easier to do open records requests? Or is that not?
Sometimes what it does once in a while is when we have to go back through archives to find something, a lot of times you're looking for the attachment that, if the link is moved, you'd probably never be able to find it. Where that all lives and breathes out on their website. That is a nice thing about it that I have noticed, not that you couldn't do something a little different. I'm just not, this is what we've used. I'm not saying something better isn't out there or something different isn't better. I just know from what we've done, going back and searching once in a while, this does a very good job.
Certainly be open to looking, just not under the gun of having the Diligent meeting to, give them an answer within the month.
So yeah, my question was, it says pricing is valid until May 30th, 2025. We've obviously passed that. Have you spoken with them at all about they would honor it 3 days later?
I did not, actually. I don't know if Alicia had or not, but I'm also guessing they're not gonna turn down one of their long-term customers for.
So if we accept it tonight, what transpires a year from now? Automatic renewal? or we bring it back to us again.
it was a 1-year contract.
It's a one-year
Sarah
contract,
read
but you
it
do
there.
have to, you do have to do a written notice of non-renewal. It does automatically renew if we don't do a notice of non-renewal. And then when it automatically renews, it increases by 5% each year. So,
I think we're under a time crunch now, so I'm not saying to stop the discussion, but we're looking for a motion. I'd say do it for a year, bring it back up in 10 months from now, so we got 2 months to talk about it.
Yeah.
And to look at those other options.
Yeah.
Not
That'd be
saying
my
we should sit through meetings, but possibly.
That would be my motion.
Did you get that?
Second.
In a second. Okay, you wanna take a roll?
Commissioners Carlson,
Aye.
Garbers,
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Mayor Lundstrom.
Okay, next on old business is the citywide cleanup. Do we have any report on that? Yeah, I know you're pointing over here. You guys.
By the way, I have to say, you can't hear a thing on the phone. When you're like not here in person.
Oh, really?
You might as well just turn it off, yeah. I tried to watch you and like, I was 10 seconds behind, so I gave up on that.
You couldn't hear
Like, that's
me
not working. I could only hear you. I
because it was
couldn't
sitting
hear-
right
yes,
here.
Yeah. And Andrew's got a good voice, so I can hear his, but everybody else, you're out.
The owl is a good purchase, the owl.
The owl?
Yeah.
All right. Hoot. Let's get the owl.
It
Write that
actually
down.
looks like an owl as well.
So anyways, citywide cleanup.
I sent some information. We're gonna do back and forth. We're not
Okay.
there yet. But we're working towards some good ideas. So that's where we're at.
Anything staff can do to help, between the next meeting? Or let us know if there is.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything about, we'll obviously have to bring it up with the staff once we kind of come up with a game plan, and then we'll have to say like, okay, here's our game plan. Is this, something that can work?
Okay.
I think we will, but I don't know that I have that tonight.
Okay, so. Okay.
Table for next time.
Somebody wanna make a motion to table this again?
You have the motion.
Did you? Okay, we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. You call roll.
Commissioners Garbers,
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Carlson,
Aye.
Mayor Lundstrom.
Aye. Okay, that brings us to new business. That is, the fire department has a roster update. And I don't know how to say this last name, Isaac Yilbeyer and Brandon Sandos are new members for the volunteer fire department and need to be added to the roster and workers' compensation policy. So that's good to hear. So I'll make a motion to accept these two for the roster.
I'll make a motion to accept these two to the roster
All right, is
and policy.
there a second?
Second.
Okay, call roll.
Commissioners York. Carlson,
Aye.
Garbers,
Aye.
Mayor Lundstrom.
Hi. Next on the agenda is the organizational chart. It's been updated to reflect the change in Director of Parks position and Director of Utilities position and Director of Public Works position, and a motion and second is required to bring this to a vote. So,
I got a question late in the day from an employee who said it looked like some of the lines were, for those 3 department heads, were connecting department heads together rather than individual lines connecting them up a level.
I can see where that would be, because they're kind of crossed, and then just one person or one thing goes to the city administrator versus all 3 of them.
Yeah.
I can see that could be confusing.
Yeah, if you want to approve it tonight with the direction to
eliminate some of these lines.
add 3 lines, or add lines directly from
Okay,
those 3 department heads to the administrator.
Motion with the change.
okay. So motion, do we have a second?
Second.
And call roll.
Commissioners Carlson,
Aye.
Garbers,
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Mayor Lundstrom.
Aye. Next on the agenda is an employee resignation at the library. Terry Blaze, the library assistant, has submitted her notice of resignation, and last day was on May 30th, 2025, and motion is needed to accept this resignation.
I'll motion to accept her resignation.
Second. The motion is second, and call roll.
Commissioners Garbers,
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Carlson.
Aye.
Mayor Lundstrom.
Aye. Next on the agenda is a turf quote for the Canton swimming pool. Thornton Flooring provided a quote for the ground prep turf and turf installation at the Canton pool, and attached is an electronic quote. So, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah,
Andrew?
so there's been a lot of small incidentals with the pool that we've done, without bringing to y'all. But this one was pretty substantial in cost. Wanted it in front of you. As you probably know, within the fenced-in area, there's 2 spots where there's not concrete. We didn't seed those spots. If anything, we thought if we were gonna go with real grass, we would have tried to get sod, so that it was just more readily established by the time the pool opened up. But the real problem is having grass inside of the pool. Mowing it in there, making sure you're bagging every single piece of it so it's not ending up in the water. Even then, kids will, or anybody tracking dirt and grass back out of that natural grass area into the pool. Harder on the filters, it just would be a maintenance pain in the butt. And so we had looked at turf companies, and I think the pool committee maybe went down the same rabbit hole, looking at turf companies,
Yeah.
mostly though, like the big companies that do sports turfs. And their numbers were a lot bigger because they didn't really want to bother with such a small project. Just to find out that Thornton does turf. So we were able to get a quote from them. This includes underneath turf like this, has the same amount of prep work as like a stone paver patio. There's quite a bit of gravel and aggregate underneath it to help drain away underneath it. So this quote involves all of that, the underground prep work and then the final installation of the turf itself. And today, so we opened up the pool with that area being, it looks green, but it's all weeds. But people, even with that, were laying their towels down and wanting to sunbathe in that area. So it really would be a nice improvement to have turf in there that's not a maintenance nightmare.
It'd be cheaper to concrete that in.
Yes. It'd be less than this.
Pardon?
It'd be less than this, but it's not aesthetically pleasing and user-friendly, and
No, you're
I
right.
totally have been to some other pools that have this turf, and I get it. I just looking at 50-pound bags of sand for $7,700 and installation of $8,600. Obviously trying to figure out where we can save. Ground prep.
That's guys, comes under 2 ground prep for 18,000, we can't prep that baby.
We might be able to get in there and do some of the removal, especially because we're going to want to try to do as much of this during non-pool hours.
Yep.
So if we can sneak in there during, gosh, the pool's open all the time, but taking out some of the black dirt that is in there, that removal part.
We got one quote only.
They were the only local vendor we could find.
There's too many variables to accept. I can't accept this without knowing of other options and possibly prepping it ourselves and or some other things. So the Evergrass 76, I mean, what other options do we have? Is this the Cadillac or is this the DeVille, the Sabre? I mean, 8,600 for the actual product. How big of an area? I'm trying to decide how big of an area that is. How many square feet are we talking, so I know what I'm paying for a square foot of turf?
If you try to scroll in, it just gets blurry.
I think it was 2,200 square feet
2,200?
for the big one.
And then there's a smaller one by the mechanical building fence.
Yeah, I could see doing something for, that area is just not, I don't think it's gonna get used as much.
I don't either.
But I don't know what else to put in there that again, doesn't create a maintenance problem with, rock would be nice, but then you're gonna end up with rocks in your
You don't
pool.
want small rocks.
No, we don't.
Right.
I think your only option is turf
Or cement.
or cement.
I could see cementing in that small area because that's not gonna be utilized.
One other thought I had was like a ever so slightly raised wooden deck.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
I don't wanna raise anything, because that would make it inaccessible to people with mobility issues.
Fair enough.
How about the new playgrounds in Sioux Falls, of course, that are.
Oh, the poured in place rubber.
Like when you step on it, you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
I think it's the Butterfly House, is that what that is?
We
The
did,
Sertoma Park,
Yes.
I did one a couple of years ago. It was pretty spendy.
Okay.
And it had to have a concrete collar around it, so we'd have to do something on the fence.
Not looking away from turf, I think turf probably is our one and only option. I guess I'm just looking for other options of turf.
You said you want a raised deck, how about a flush deck?
Make it sit in there.
Is this something that could wait until pool closes at the end of the season?
Well, I'd invite you all to go look, I guess. Like I said, it's green, but when you get up close to it, you realize it is 100% weeds, no grass.
Yeah, it is.
I guess I would like to, being the only bid, I'd like to look into it a little bit more for that amount of money.
We'll try to find more local quotes. Thank
I
you,
had some
Jim.
ideas who to call.
Okay. And by local, I mean, the insulation was the big part of it.
Sure.
I'm sure there's a
Yeah.
handful of other people who, so then we'll also talk about what more we could do for the ground prep beforehand. Having them install the final turf keeps the warranty with it at least.
Yep.
But if we can do some of that ground prep and get into that cost.
We've done it with the majority of the pool and trying to save where we can, so I think we need to continue that same due diligence and save where we can.
Sounds good.
do we need a motion to table it?
Thank you.
I'll motion to table it.
Do we have a second?
Second,
Thank you. And call roll.
Commissioners York,
Aye.
Carlson,
Aye.
Garbers,
aye.
Mayor Lundstrom.
Aye. Next is a professional services proposal for pavement management plan. ISG, the city engineer, submitted a professional services proposal for pavement management plan. They attached on the website or the Word docs, they attached a plan. You wanna talk about that, somebody, so everybody knows what it is?
Yeah, one second. I'm gonna try to. So, I had this done before in a previous town. This outside outfit, and it's the same outside outfit that ISG is proposing to use. They have this trailer that they drag through the town, over all the streets. It shoots lasers down to the ground and analyzes how good your road surface is at the top, in the middle, and the bottom, and kind of gives you that holistic approach of the health of the road. And then you get all that data back as like what they call a heat map. You know, green shaded roads that don't need repair, and orange, yellow, red roads that you should focus on sooner than later. Some of that seems obvious, but some of it isn't. People think that because a road is undulating, that's a bad road. Oftentimes it is not a bad road at all. Yeah, there was settlement along, service lines and trenches and stuff, but the quality of your blacktop is not lacking at all. This helps give you focus and reason on which roads you're prioritizing. Of course, we have the added caveat here on what types of pipe is underneath the road, and that makes the priority unto itself, but it's not going to be the case for every road. So it helps your budget, it helps you prioritize, it helps everyone, especially you guys, be able to communicate back to the public as to why we haven't gotten around to their road yet, or why we're prioritizing their road.
That's the
There's
data
35,
collection.
go ahead.
That's the data collection part?
That's every street in town?
Yep.
And what's a 5-year payment management plan? Pavement, not pavement.
That's where they tell you which roads, they help you a little bit as a send off with the data to say, here's what we would do if we were you in the next 5 years, what priorities you should make. And it isn't just like full replacement. Sometimes it's just your chip seal, slurry seal, crack seal. It's, if you got a middle quality road, then that just means it should be higher on the slurry seal priority list.
What do we spend on slurry seal roughly, Kyle, a year?
Usually 120, I think this year the bid was 137.
We have been doing slurry seal for 4 years now?
I think it's 3.
3 or 4 years.
Every town in the metro rides the Sioux Falls quote, and
Yeah.
since they switched, we all switched.
And I think honestly, we got a better quality road. It's not nearly as messy. We don't have all the chips to sweep up and.
Would this be something we would do before we do the slurry seal? And we would get all this information before we,
Probably for next year.
Yeah, this year's slurry seal is already approved and gonna happen. But yeah, this would happen sometime in the next couple of months, and it
so
would,
it would happen before it's slurry sealed, and then we'd slurry seal, and that would change, wouldn't that change the aspect of the road?
it would a little bit, but it looks at multiple levels of the road. So it can tell you if you have a superficially good top layer, but you have a deficient bottom layer too. So it doesn't fool it completely. And this is one of the only outfits out there that does it, so they're,
Could we motion to do this? And I don't know when we start the slurry seal for 26, the discussion, but could we put that on hold until we've read this?
yeah, I think this would all be done in time for it to inform our 2026 roads.
I don't want to, Sarah asked the question, I understand 25 is already done, said and sealed. But I don't want to do this and then, oh, by the way, that road shouldn't have been on 2026.
Yeah.
Or we could come back in 26 to compensate for.
And this.
We all know that we need to get into infrastructure, so if we're gonna okay this, I would say we put everything else, especially the slurry seal for 26 on hold until we have totally discussed this.
Yeah, I think ISG they would think that they would have all this data processed and ready to inform slurry seal and other road maintenance things for 2026.
And we wouldn't have to actually have a map until probably March-ish. We have to know some rough footages, and usually that's calculated by the amount of the bid and what we budget. So naming of the streets, it comes a little bit later in the
Right, you
process.
you can switch until the day they show up, as long as it's the same number of feet.
So how are we just, probably not a fair question for Andrew, so Kyle, how are we covering the town in slurry seal, how many years?
It used to be 3, and I think we're probably getting closer to 7 now, because slurry seal is a little bit more expensive, so we don't get quite as much bang for the buck. But that's been happening even with chip seal as the oil costs have risen. We do a little less every year.
So you're saying we're on a 7-year, we're back to the same road, is what you're saying?
Roughly.
Okay.
I think we used to be 3, and I think we got to 5, and I think we're probably a little bit beyond that now. But there's one year we didn't do it either.
Right.
So, the street that we just did, Beaver Creek. When does that need a surface?
Sometimes within the first 3 years is a really good idea, actually, to
Slurry seal it?
to hit a brand new street, actually. If the context that I'm coming from was those new streets were in active developments, so there was always that caveat that you would wait to do a slurry seal until they were done building along that road. But in this case, where it's in an established neighborhood, I would think within the first 3 years, if you don't have, again, a competing priority, but it's a good idea on a new road.
This, data collection that they do, will people need to move their cars? Will this be something where we would have to have people not park on the streets?
I do not remember that being part of the process last time. I think they can get everything they want just using the driving lanes that are open. Yeah, I don't remember that being an issue last time, and it wouldn't come up in discussions with ISG on it. If it is, then, we alert the public on, which we probably already will, because it'll be a strange looking trailer driving down people's streets. But
Yeah. Just wanna make sure that we're not, having this go through, giving people 24 hours to move their cars and then ticketing and towing with, without enough notice.
And not getting good data.
Right.
Will we have to do a supplement for this?
Yes.
So could you make a motion to do this, cutting back on slurry seal to compensate it for 26? Or you got two different years in there?
2 different years. I would recommend that we just move forward with it, if we're wanting to do the study, just to move forward with it and make sure that we still run 130,000 for slurry seal next year, so that we can start working on at not running 7 years, we can maybe get a little bit less.
But this thing's gonna, I would guess, this study is gonna throw that slurry seal plan kind of out the window.
Potentially. It'll at least give us more of an area to start in, where we have the bad pieces, or
Or it ends up leaving your slurry seal unaffected, and it just rewrites your bigger road maintenance projects, maybe
Capital improvement, you're saying?
your infrastructure.
mill and overlay or complete reconstruction. We might not do a slurry seal next year so that we can afford a mill and overlay, for example. That might be the kind of trade-off.
I just don't wanna do this and then we're so used to doing so many streets that we don't even really pay attention to what this thing said.
No, this would become an integral part of where we would start heading with some of those things.
So this probably should have been done before the capital improvement plan was done.
Well, if we got that infrastructure, there's no sense spending a lot of money on the street.
Correct.
But we will have to take this data and put it against our capital improvement plan and use our staff that we've used to give us that capital improvement plan. And go
Modify
weight them out.
modify what we need to,
In the capital improvement plan, right now, the projects that are in there are mostly full reconstructs, you know, because it is being driven by the infrastructure under the ground.
Mhm.
This will still inform, mill and overlay and other, less full. You know, it's not just reconstructions, it's all the different types of.
I think this is a good tool, but then if we're gonna pay 35,000 for it, we gotta use it.
Okay, then bring it up.
Scott,
Supposed to be showing up.
Okay,
I'll make the motion.
we have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Call roll?
Commissioners Carlson,
Aye.
Garbers,
Aye.
York,
Aye.
Mayor Lundstrom.
Aye. Okay, next is the CEDC annual funds. They're requesting the annual funds of $45,000, and this comes solely from the third penny fund.
and I think clarification is $40,500.
Instead of the 45,
Yeah,
okay.
We pay their dues to the,
Grove Line.
to Nickel Grove Lines.
They had submitted formal letters. I don't know if we had a chance to get them.
I haven't seen a formal letter from them yet.
But told them that I didn't think they needed to be here tonight for it, just in case you're wondering. But just their annual allocation is what they're asking for.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve and disperse the funds.
So we have a motion and a second. Then call roll?
Commissioners Garbers,
Aye.
York, Carlson,
Aye.
Mayor Lundstrom.
Aye. Next is a tri-state ready mix boring costs, and discussion on tri-state ready mix costs needs to happen now. There is no attachment, do we know how much it costs? What's it for?
So
Yeah,
Tri-State annexed into the city this spring to do a building addition. They could have done it without annexation, but they said when they know it's an option, they like to do that. And so they annexed, they commenced with a building addition, and they also wanted to go pick up sewer. The sewer, two routes were available. One back to West Road, but that involves some private property and running close to rocks, fireworks, and their homes. So the better option was to go north, but that sewer is on the other side of Highway 18. So they're having to bore underneath Highway 18 to get to the sewer. And those costs came in higher than they anticipated at $30,000 total. And they,
60,000.
60,000 total, sorry. And they just asked with no level of expectation as to whether or not that would be something that we would share in that cost with them. They without providing examples, but I trust what they're saying, that in some other communities with similar situations, they had found the community willing to share in the cost of hooking up their sewer. They're slightly oversizing the line in case of more additions or something else in the future. So maybe there's a possibility that their neighbor directly to the west could tap into this particular service, but it's not big enough to serve a substantially larger area around Tri-State.
To the west it would be, and he said that he would sign on with that.
that he,
If we annex going west like we're talking,
whatever could fit in
like all
there,
the old OP building, he would sign off that they wouldn't have to bore under 18 again, that they could come to the east and tap into theirs. And he also, wouldn't deed it, but that creek that's on the west side of Tri-State, which is a total mess, which flooded when we got the flood, he'd be open to cleaning that out, getting it straight. If we would go along with this.
Personally think we should, and in good faith, meet them in the middle or do something to help them bore under because they're annexing in. It's only gonna help us.
But we don't have any actual costs, right? We have no idea what we're approving.
it would be
I think we put a dollar amount on it.
then they take it or leave it. But yeah, they said on the phone it was 60,000. They were hoping that we'd participate up to half of that amount.
There'll still have to be an agreement signed between us and Tri-State.
Yeah.
That's a service line.
But, you know, they are a good corporate neighbor. It's always good to have a concrete ready mix place in your community. And we've had other businesses entertain coming to the industrial park just because Tri-State's there and they needed concrete in their supply chain. So they're a good company, good to have around.
They came in clutch for the flood.
Pardon?
They came in clutch for the flood.
Yes, they
They
did.
donated quite a bit of cement and sand and rock throughout the years too.
We're gonna see 30 grand a month in sales tax, are we not?
No,
What are we gonna see in sales tax?
because sales tax is based on the point of where you accept the good. And since they deliver the concrete to someone,
To the point of delivery.
Point delivery. My bad.
yeah, I wish.
Yeah, that's
They'll
right.
still- they'll still-
This can outweigh easily.
Yeah.
There'll still be some increases. We'll have increased property taxes from them annexing and also their utilities and consumables will now be sales tax.
Yeah, I think there was,
Where's this point of sale?
I think the
Let's not discuss that.
I think the back of the envelope math was 1,800 in property taxes a year that they would be paying here.
Would you rather see a dollar amount or what do you want to do? What do you want now?
Up to 50% or 30,000, whichever is less.
Would it need to be based on a signed contract though? Like a signed agreement between the parties with, like,
So we don't vote on anything tonight, we just set a price and then make the contract and then vote on the contract?
Yeah, because they're gonna push ahead with the project, so our delay won't delay them. So that would be fine.
do more like a reimbursement
Right.
kind of thing.
I didn't hear what you said, sir.
Like a reimbursement, because if we need to still prepare a contract, negotiate terms, get it signed, you know, it's not delaying them because they're gonna keep going on. I'm not gonna stop their project for that. But I'd like to see that happen before money gets sent out.
Right, that's what he said. They would, right, that, is that what you call? His timeline wasn't gonna change.
Right, but I'd still rather go to them, we're gonna do it up to half, not to exceed the dollar amount. We're signing contracts to hook up to the party to the west.
So you could still vote on a dollar amount tonight
Okay.
and direct the staff to still bring agreement back to you before the.
Yes, I think you need, And if they were doing it to us, they would want the same thing. If it's $60,000 from the edge of 18 right away to the other side of the 18, that's what I wanna, we'll pay up to half or to a dollar amount. Because somebody might have bid that whole project from the building to the north side of 18.
Yep.
They want that broke apart.
So how you want to state, a motion to state that? Up to 30,000
50%
or,
or 30,000, whichever is less, but only for the costs associated with the Highway 18 right away.
right. Did you make that motion?
If we're
I
just.
didn't make that motion, that's just the motion I was writing down.
I like that one.
Did you
I
make,
was gathering.
We don't have to be part of that to bid that thing, right?
No. Good question, but no.
That'll be my motion.
It's less than 100K.
okay, so we have a second? He's shaking his head yes.
Second.
Gonna call roll.
Commissioners York.
Aye.
Carlson.
I,
Garbers.
Aye.
Mayor Lundstrom.
Aye. Okay, we will, have commissioner dialogue now because we're gonna go into executive session and then we'll move back out and vote on an issue. I just want to say thank you to everyone for the Canton Swimming Pool. We had a ribbon cutting today and then the pool opened immediately after that and did you get a head count?
Right, opening? No. At around 2:00, there was 218 kids in there.
So
Or
that-
people.
That was amazing.
And I drove by right before I got here, and even with, the hour break
Uh-huh.
around dinner time, it was full.
So, yeah, I want to thank everybody who had anything to do with helping get that pool here for our kids and for the city. There's too many people to name, all the people that have served on the committee at one point in time. And the city crews, the city staff at City Hall. Thank you, everyone, for bringing this forth. So that's all I have. Paul?
Nothing.
Sarah?
I don't have anything.
Chris? No? Okay, then I'm gonna call for an executive session under codified law 1-25-2. And this is a personnel.
Okay.
Call roll.
Commissioners Carlson.
Aye.
Garbers.
Aye.
York. Mayor Lundstrom.
Aye. What's that?
This train wakes